Yes, and how many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
You know what else is blowing in the wind?
Farts.
Yes. That is the exact answer I was looking for.
Sound waves?
Sound waves would also be appropriate. Lots of things blow in the wind, as you will discover throughout life. And life is one of the things we talk about here on American Brews and Tunes.
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes. Shibbity-beeby-dow!
Yippee! Welcome to episode 52 of American Brews
52.
and Tunes. 52. It's 52 weeks in a year, right?
Wow, yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
My
are
name is
correct.
Stephen Johnston.
And my name is Jesse Titus.
And this is a fun one-off episode.
It sure is.
As we do pretty much every other episode, I think, right?
Yeah, every other week.
Yeah, our regularly programmed episodes are generally where I recommend a album for Jesse to listen to, and he does the same for me, and then we come back and talk about it. But on these fun one-off episodes, we talk about one album that we quite like, or maybe one album that someone's recommended, or just one random album.
Yeah.
And we try one beer.
We do take recommendations for albums to listen to.
Yeah, so let us
So
know.
if you're out there and you're like, they really need to listen to this album.
Yeah, just hit us up on all the social medias. Just look up American Brews and Tunes, or you can go to our website, brewsandtunespodcast.com, or you can send us an email at americanbrewsandtunes@gmail.com. Is that what it is? That's what
I
it
think
is.
So, yeah.
Anyways, this week we're listening to such a heavy album, a great heavy
sure
album
is.
by the metal punk political band Propagandhi
Yeah.
from Canada. What a great band.
Is it Propagandhi or Propagandhi?
I always thought it was Propagandhi, but I've heard them and multiple other people say Propagandhi.
Propagandhi, okay.
But, you know, you
You can say whatever you want, though.
yeah, why not?
I
Pronunciations
normally
are,
say Propagandhi anyway.
I usually say Propagandhi because that's what I just read it as, but I believe it is Propagandhi.
Okay.
But we're going to review their latest album, Victory Lap.
Victory lap.
It's a victory, in my opinion.
It is quite the victory.
And it runs laps around my musical love. Oh, what a great album. And if you guys remember correctly, we did review one of their albums. Well, Jesse reviewed one of their albums
Yes.
a while ago that I'd recommended.
Supporting cast.
Supporting Cast. What a great album.
That is also a very good album, yeah.
So this is two albums after that, and it just came out last year,
Yes, 2017.
2017. What a great album.
It really is.
We'll come back and talk about that album in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about the beer we're about to try. We figured since it's a heavy band, we'll have a heavy beer.
That's a great idea.
Isn't that a good idea?
Yeah.
And I just happen to have this beer aging for the past almost 3 years.
Ooh.
It's the Bells Expedition Stout.
I have never had this before.
It is heavy, clocking in at 10.5%.
Yes.
So it's a doozy. And it's like I said, it's a crowler, so we got
It's a
quite a bit to
doozy.
split.
Yeah, so that's why we're using our nice Oktoberfest glasses.
And did you look this up on Untapped? Were you
Yes,
looking
I
it up?
did.
All right, why don't you see if you can find a description on there and read it while I pour these beers for us, since we only have one can to pour.
Okay, let me see if I can find something. There's the crickety crack. Let's see. It says it's a stout Russian Imperial, vintage of Expedition Stout. Let's see. One of the earliest examples of the Russian Imperial Stout in the United States, Expedition Stout offers immensely complex flavors crafted specially with vintage aging in mind, as its profile will continue to mature and develop over the years. A huge malt body is matched to a heady blend of chocolate, dark fruits, and other aromas.
Oh.
Intensely bitter in its early months, the flavors will slowly meld and grow in depth as the beer ages.
Oh. And this has aged for almost 3 years.
That sounds really interesting. Also, how did they test that? How did they test? Did they like make a beer and like age it for 5 years themselves before they release
Trial and
it?
error, I guess. I'm not really sure. Who knows?
That's kind of interesting.
So, it sounds like a delicious beer, and since it's 3 years old, as they say, it gets better when aged, or mellows, I suppose. So,
mellows out, and the flavors are supposed to meld together.
Yeah. As I poured these beers, they foamed up quite a bit.
They sure did.
I was a little startled, actually. I poured them very gently, and I figured...
Yeah, you were handling it like you would handle a little puppy.
I've had beers that I've aged for a while, and generally when you open them, they're less carbonated, and they have less of a head, and they're usually smoother. So this has surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Shall we give them a clink and give them a try?
Yeah, why not? Why don't we?
Yeah, for all of you who are imbibing, raise your beers. If you're not imbibing, raise your water or any of the beverage.
Just raise your hand.
Or if you don't have anything, raise your hand.
Quick, hurry, grab a glass.
Yeah, you can even raise a glass with air.
We'll wait 2 seconds.
Or, you know what? If you don't want to raise your hand and shot with us, you don't have to. You do you, Jim from North Dakota. All right, here we go. As we always say on American Brews and Tunes, shibbity-beep-doo! Delicious. It's boozy kind of off the bat. I don't think the booziness is masked. But I also get hit with the sweetness. And the sweetness kind of stays, but then the roastiness really overpowers it.
Yeah, it kind of goes from like a boozy flavor right at the beginning. And then you get hit with like a chocolatey sweetness. Mm-hmm. And then like the roasty malties come through at the end.
Roasty malties come through and they linger till...
They linger. It's
they
still,
last.
It's still lingering
there,
in my mouth.
So I'm expecting to have this phenomenon,
this taste in your mouth,
taste in my mouth for the rest of the
night.
podcast. Yeah, well, at least the rest of the episode. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe not.
This is a good beer. It has aged well.
I'm going to check it in on Untapped.
Yeah, I've had this one fresh, and I've now had it aged, and I've liked it quite a bit both ways.
When did you have it fresh last?
Whenever I bought this.
Oh, really?
Because I bought this from Craft Brewed. I bought, I think, a single bottle of the regular, and then I got a crowler of this, which we're now drinking at the same exact time. It was around the time that Bells reopened their distribution in the South to Nashville. And I was really excited, so I bought a bunch of Bells stuff at the same time.
It was closed at one point?
Yeah, they didn't distribute here for a while.
Huh.
Bells didn't, and there's a couple other breweries that didn't. But
I wonder why not.
I don't know.
I mean, I wonder why.
Who knows? But what matters is they're here.
Yep, they're here now, and hopefully they're here to
They're
stay.
here, and they're beer.
Good one.
I thought so. Well, like always, as the beer warms up, if our taste buds interpret the flavors a little differently, we'll let you know.
There'll be a break.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
You'll hear this sound. Beer update.
Yes. Fun side note that has absolutely nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
Jesse and I were at a wedding recently for one of our buddies, and there was a Polaroid camera, and I took a picture, and I started shaking it, and he's like, don't shake it. And I was like, what? The photographer was telling me not to shake a Polaroid. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're never supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, but Outcast.
You know, they told us to shake it.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture. So
what made you think of that?
When you're going do, it made me think of this one song that goes
oh yeah,
which isn't an Outcast song, but it
reminded you of Outcast
for some reason that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I made that connection.
Interesting.
Back to the good stuff though. Let's talk about Propagandhi.
Let's do it.
Or Propagandhi, whatever you want to say.
Propagandhi.
Victory Lap. Like we said, this album came out in 2017. I remember when I first caught news that they were recording, I was super excited.
Yeah.
They don't release music super regularly. It's always many years in between when they put out an album.
Yeah.
And Jess and I were watching a movie, and I got this notification on my phone that Propagandhi had released a new song. It was a title track, Victory Lap. Nice. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah, check this out. And the song was good. I wasn't like super blown away at first, but then I listened to it more and more and got pretty stoked.
Yeah.
And then me and Becca were going to a Tyler Hilton concert. He's like more of an acoustic kind of poppy singer.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. And she got a VIP, and I didn't want to pay for VIP, so I was like, you do the VIP, I'll get a regular, I'll meet you in there.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in the parking lot just perusing the punk forums and stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw that they released the video for their then new song, Failed Imagineer.
Yeah.
And upon halfway through listening, I was like, this is the greatest. I'm pre-ordering the album. So I copied it and I
remember
sent
when
you the link. I was
yeah.
like, check this out.
Yeah, after you showed me that, I listened to it like 20 times.
You replied very quickly saying, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I was super stoked for the
Yeah.
album to come out. So we
Yep,
just had to wait for it.
Pre-ordered the vinyl whenever that was available.
It was pretty cool, too, because the vinyl came with a little slip disc, or what do you call it? A flexi disc.
Flexi disc, yep.
Yeah, with just one other song.
Of a bonus song on it.
Yeah. But I quite like this. It's up there among my favorite Propagandhi albums. It's pretty consistent the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like many of our one-offs, Jesse probably won't be giving any rating system.
No, I won't.
And unlike many of our one-offs, I also will not be giving a rating system just because I didn't have the time or didn't care.
Yeah,
No,
well,
I'm just
because
kidding.
it's not that you didn't have the time, but you're just like, they're all great.
They're all great. I will, however, give my recommendations. I've got 3 recommendations and an honorable mention.
Okay.
Having said that, they're all worth listening to, and this album is a ripper from front to back.
Yes.
So let's start where we always start,
At the
at
beginning.
the beginning. The very first song is the title track, Victory Lap, and I recommended it.
Okay, nice.
For one, it was the first song I heard off of this album, so that means something, I
And
guess,
it's just
right?
just a good song.
It is. It's
in
definitely
general.
not a punk song. It leans more on the metal side because it's got that riff at the beginning. And it just kind of, it's a headbanging, like raging song.
Yeah.
And it's metal, riffy. But I'm fairly certain it's in response to some of the stuff going on in America today.
Yeah.
Like they're talking about the wall.
Yep.
They're saying when everything goes bad, let me read this. Faces palmed, faces paled, as the wall they said would make them great could not be scaled. So like when you're trying to leave the U.S. to get somewhere else, there's a wall there. But it just kind of talks about like a lot of the crazy things going on in society right now that are a little too hard to believe, but apparently not.
Yeah.
Yeah. By victory lap, what do you think he means? Like a faux victory lap? Like everyone thinks it's the greatest, but it's not a real victory lap?
Because like victory lap,
Victory
if you
lap's
think
your
about
last-
like NASCAR.
It's the final thing that happens.
Yeah, well, if you think about like a NASCAR race, whoever wins takes a victory lap by themselves or something like that.
So
maybe that's also it. They're taking the victory lap by themselves.
yeah. Or maybe this is like they're fairly easy to read in that they're not a Trump supporting band.
Yeah.
Maybe they're saying Trump's having his victory lap while we try to figure out the craziness.
Yep.
Could be.
He's having his victory lap
be.
by himself.
But either way, it's a crazy song. And I guess we had said this, another little disclaimer here. We had said this during the last Propagandhi review. They're extraordinarily political, very left-leaning. If you don't agree with their stance, that's fine. You don't have to. We're not a political podcast.
No.
So like, don't get mad at us for what we say. We're not trying to cause any controversy. Propagandhi probably is. They're all for confrontation and whatnot. We're just reviewing an album that we really like. If you disagree with it, that's fine. Listen to it. Don't
give
listen
it a
to
listen
it.
anyway.
There are some curse words on this album if that's the thing you don't like.
If you're also offended by that, yeah.
Propagandhi can be a very offensive band if you don't like what they're saying. I think they stand for a lot of good things, but
I
just
think they
know
do.
that they're an extraordinarily left-leaning political rock band.
Yep.
Now, moving on to track number 2, Comply Resist. I also recommend.
Oh, nice.
And it's another political song.
It is, very, very much so. It's a really interesting song, though.
It really is. It's a response and a critique of this article that this guy, I can't remember his first name, last name is Hitchens, they say it in the song.
Yep.
He wrote this op-ed piece in a newspaper or some type of periodical about Columbus Day and about how the American Indians or the indigenous people should not be mad that we did the things that we did.
Stuff, yeah.
He's like, just that's how society is. So, it's
how
all for your good.
That's how history's
been made. Yeah.
Yeah.
In one line of the Propagandhi song, he says, "Welcome to a slightly higher plane."
Yeah.
And that's a direct quote from the actual
A slightly like
op-ed.
higher
I don't know if you've
plane
read his
of
op-ed.
it. No, I haven't.
It's worth reading because it's just interesting. But it's the very first stanza of this song is saying, in 1992, this guy wrote an op-ed, and if you'll permit me the conceit of a posthumous critique, because the writer's now dead, I'll paraphrase.
Yeah.
And the rest of the song is him paraphrasing it just to point out how ridiculous it is.
Right, yeah. Because, like, let's see, what are some of the other lyrics that are, like, pretty good?
I mean, there's a lot of lyrics. But he also ties in together the Native Americans in Columbus with today cops and African Americans and the crazy stuff there. Like literally the chorus is comply, resist, no difference, resist, comply, you die.
Yep.
So there's a lot of tie-ins to some problems that are much more recent than the Native Americans in Columbus.
He says like stuff like this paradise, Eden, empire, kingdom, this boundless epoch we bestowed upon your savage, empty lands.
Yeah. And he even talks about a little bit later, opportunity for your trampled communities.
Yeah.
Saying like, we're here, we may have ruined your communities, but we brought so much opportunity for you, so you should thank us.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of sides on the Columbus Day stuff, but it's another take for you.
Yep.
Moving on to track number 3.
Track number 3.
Which is called Cop Just Out of Frame.
Cop Just Out of Frame.
Yeah. What did you got anything to say about this one?
Other than the fact that it's good.
Do you know what he's referencing?
No.
Essentially, I was gonna say I don't remember the guy's name, but he says it in the song. It's Quang Duc. I don't know if I am pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
That's the monk that burned himself alive.
Oh,
so that's what that first line means. If I thought it would help, I would immolate myself, and I believe that's when you burn yourself in protest. And this song talks about how he has this fire burning, but if he did like everything he believed in, and if he like, and he's talked about this in an interview, Chris Hanna, the guitar player and singer and writer, if he like fought like with intensity for everything that he believed, he would like be in jail or like be dead.
Or dead, probably.
So he's saying that's just like, I'm kind of failing a little bit. So it's a self-critique on themselves a little bit at the same time as trying to put a flame in your heart for rebellion.
Or something that's that you believe is justice.
Yeah. They've always been a band that's able to self-critique at the same time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Self-realized.
They're self-aware.
Yeah, they're intense.
They are.
They're super intense. Shall we move on?
Yes.
To track number 4, which is called When All Your Fears Collide. And this is the first song sung by bass player Todd Kowalski.
Yes.
Kowalski?
Kowalski?
I believe it's Kowalski.
You decide.
I think it's Kowalski, but
Probably
you never know.
Kowalski.
Yeah. He's a good bass player.
He
Phenomenal
really is.
bass player.
It's really funny how they all... This is kind of a sidetrack, but it's really funny how they all wear like normal clothes.
Yeah, they don't wear flashy stuff.
Yeah, we saw them. We saw them in concert. Did we already mention that?
I don't think we have.
No, yeah, we saw them in concert in Nashville, which is strange, right? Like they don't normally tour in the South.
Yeah, to Nashville.
Yeah. But anyway, since we're talking about Kowalski right now, Todd, right? Todd.
Yeah.
It was just really funny to see him because he just had like shorts on, like Asics running shoes, and just like a t-shirt.
He might have been barefoot.
No, he wasn't.
Was he? Okay, yeah, but
Chris Hanna had on those like toe shoes.
Oh yeah,
those weird little toe boots.
Yeah, they were just wearing like normal clothes. It was nothing like.
I was like, nice.
Everyday guys, and then they all came up and like shook hands with people at the end of the show.
Yeah, they were like, "Thanks for coming out, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out."
I was talking with them about hockey for a minute there.
Yeah.
About Crosby and the Jets and everything. Yeah, but they're not. Was he a Maple Leafs fan? Is that what he said?
I guess so.
Yeah. Anyways, anything else to say about this song? Do you like this song?
I like all the songs.
When All Your Fears Collide?
Yeah, I'm recommending the whole album.
Fair enough. All right. I'll move on to track number 5, which is called Letters to Young Anus.
Yep. So this is the song self-critiquing as well, kind of.
Kind of, for sure. But it's also critical of society.
Yeah.
And the very first line kind of gives the whole thing away. It's be careful how much
you reveal.
Yes, be careful how much you reveal.
Yeah.
Because everything's on record. And if you say a dissenting opinion, you're going to be ostracized for it.
Yeah.
And no one will forget. But I like this song a lot.
Yeah.
It's fast.
I think so too.
It's awesome.
It starts off awesome. It's, like you said, fast and...
And the past couple songs weren't like fast punk songs, so this one kind of took it back to the punk feel a little bit more. But then the next song takes it away from the punk feel a little bit.
Yeah, it does. This was an interesting song. Whenever I first heard this song, I was like, oh.
It's different.
Very different.
Track number 6, which is called Lower Order, parentheses, A Good Laugh.
Yep.
I almost recommended, but I didn't.
If I were to choose recommendations, I would recommend this one.
I thought about it because I really think it's good. And it starts off like a crazy rager of a song.
Yeah.
And then cuts out and it's like the softest song on the record.
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck is
like
this?
Clean guitar, like barely overdriven.
Yeah, so coming in right at the middle of the album, that's probably why they did that.
Yeah.
I think it's the end of side A.
Is it?
If I'm not mistaken. So it probably is. We
start
got
of
the
side
record
B.
here. Do you want to look at the track listing for each side?
Yeah.
It doesn't have it on it, does it?
Was it not?
It doesn't. But I'm just going to say it's probably the end of track 1. I'm just going to go on a limb and say it's the end of side A.
Okay.
So it's a good way to end the side. And it's a song about hunting and about animal cruelty and why he doesn't consume meat or hunt. It's very autobiographical. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah.
I mean...
Oh, you mean in terms of the lyrics and how the song goes?
It's straight a story from his past.
Yeah, it literally
It talks
is.
about his first hunting trip when he was 5 or 6.
My first hunting trip was quite eventful.
Must have been about 5 or 6.
An essential rite of passage.
And he essentially just sits there and talks about how when he was a little kid, he was taken on a hunting trip because that's what you do in Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
Not just Canada, a lot of places.
A lot of places, that's what you do.
And how he was kind of horrified by everything that went on. And
yeah, like one of the lines he says, "They laughed as I cried and stroked his blood-soaked iridescent quills."
Yeah. So
like,
he's looking at a dead
crying
animal
about
and
a
he's like,
dead
didn't like
animal,
it.
and whoever he was with, they're like, ha 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 ha.
They're outspoken vegans.
Yeah.
We talked about that on the last episode when we were talking about that one song where he eats the person
Yeah.
as a reference
Head
to
cheese.
eating factory farmed foods.
Yep.
Yeah. But later on in the song, he talks about animals and like how you could be so cruel. And the song's a little ironic. He's not saying like that the things are what they are. But here's the line that I really like. Stupid chick on the conveyor belt staring at her severed foot. Stupid pig despairing at the sight of his companion on a hook. You ever see that stupid cow chasing the truck that drove off with her calf? Stupid lower order, always good for a good laugh.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of just pointing out the fact that it might not be the most human thing to kill animals.
Yeah.
And I am not a vegetarian or a vegan. I consume meat.
Yep.
But I see that there is definitely a problem with like the factory farming and the...
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. Do you think you would have a problem if all like the animals were raised and like free range and like locally sourced and stuff?
I think
like that?
so. I think
still
he's
would?
based on my understanding and my guess. I would assume that he's saying he would call it the murder of another creature for your benefit, because he wouldn't say survival because you can survive on other things. For your own benefit or enjoyment is not right.
You could argue
that
you're killing plants as well.
You could.
Those are living things.
You could. But there's also factory farming for plants.
Yeah.
If you have these major farms that are only planting one crop and destroying
Huge acres of
ecosystems,
land. Yeah,
displacing animals and causing death, there's a lot of bad things on both sides. But I'm all for ethical treatment of animals and not for keeping a million chickens cooped up in one cage.
Yeah, have you seen videos of that?
Where they're too fat and they break their legs?
Yeah, either they're too fat or they just get sick.
Yeah.
And then they have to like feed a whole bunch of antibiotics to every single one.
Yeah, that's just... Then we're eating antibiotic injected meat. So it's
crazy.
And that's how you get your $1 50-piece chicken McNuggets.
Yep, pretty much.
But it is what it is. It's a part of society. I don't foresee it going away anytime soon.
Yeah, there would have to be a huge upheaval of how.
Let us know what you guys think about
the
meat.
agricultural system works for that to take effect.
Let us know what you guys think about meat, vegetarianism, factory farming. If you're for it, if you're against it, just let us know. It'd be cool to hear from you guys because no one ever reaches out to us. Just tell us anything, please.
Oh my gosh.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to the best song on the album.
All right.
One of the best.
We're moving on to track number 7, which is called Failed Imagineer, and it's my last recommendation. I do have an honorable mention.
Oh.
But this is my last recommendation. Like I said, this was the song that got me 100% on board for the album, made me super excited. It's a very fast song, and it's about sitting down and talking to
an older man,
his own grandfather.
Who was in, which war was it?
I think World War II, because they talk about U-boats, which would have been the Germans. So he talks to both grandfathers on his mom and his dad's side about being in the war. And one of them, well, actually both of them kind of sit there in their like sadness, but don't really do anything about it. And he's just trying to say, like, it's okay, you know. He's like, don't be alarmed by your old man's tears. Hey, old man, it's okay. Every dog has its day. Sit down with me. Let's have a drink.
Yeah.
So he's just saying that. What do you think he's trying to say? I think he's trying to say that. Oh, it's so difficult.
Hey, old man, it's okay.
That there are horrors of war that affect everybody. Like the family of the men on the U-boat who he killed, their families are affected. His grandfather, who was the one who killed them, was affected.
Yeah.
You know, who witnessed horrors.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't know if he's trying to comfort them or if he's saying we should talk to people who have seen horrors, maybe. I don't know what he's trying to say here. But I think that's a big thing because PTSD is
very serious.
Is intense, yeah.
I would assume. I've never experienced it, but... yeah, one of the lines he says is, I've been thinking about you. I've been meaning to tell you. Sit down with me. Let's have a drink. So I guess just starting a conversation, not bottling emotions up and whatnot.
Because that can be bad. It can cause violence or depression, which can cause violence on yourself. Just the bad stuff. Talk to people.
Yeah, so it's like a really heavy subject that's concealed in this super fast, happy sounding... Not really happy sounding, but
it's major sounding.
More major than minor, but yeah.
Yeah. On to the next song, which is called Call Before You Dig.
Yeah.
It's one of my lesser favorite songs on the record, but it's about a pipeline that they dug in Canada.
Oh, in Canada.
Specifically, yeah. And how they uncovered some artifacts that were destroyed or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bison bones or something crazy. It's a good song, but it's not my favorite.
That could connect also to that one pipeline in, what was it, North Dakota?
Yeah, displacing
that was going over sacred land.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, that caused
or
upheaval.
One of the Dakotas.
No one talks about that anymore, though. It kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it's gone
crazy
now.
Yeah.
Old news, man.
Yeah,
that's the problem with social media.
Yeah.
News gets recycled like every single day or thrown out every
Everyone
single
forgets,
day.
yeah. Moving on to track number, what is this, 9?
Mm-hmm.
This song is called Negredo. Do you know what that means?
No, tell me.
It's a process in alchemy, which I believe things are burned and darkened to create new stuff, perhaps gold. I don't know, but that's what that is, like destruction through burning almost.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense with what the song's about then as well.
And this is the second and last song sung by Todd Kowalski.
Yep.
And I'm not sure about the first song. It might be, but definitely this song is about the death of his father.
Oh, really?
And you can kind of see he's talking about someone facing their like last breath and like moving, like dying in this song. It talks about it. So it's a more personal song again.
Yep.
But it's slower but still heavy at the same time.
Yeah, this was one of the songs, whenever I first heard it, I was like, oh no, I don't really like this song.
But then it feels really different
to it,
like a slower metal, sludgy song.
Yeah, but
not sludgy, that's a bad descriptor.
Yeah, but as I kept listening to it, it definitely grew on me. My favorite hands of fate.
My favorite line is the one of those last one of the last stanzas where he says, "Have you ever seen someone wasting away?
Yeah. First
by choice, then after it's too late, they decide they want to come back to life, but they're drowning at sea.
Yeah.
So endless. You see them coming up for air, then go under forever.
Yeah.
Sad.
The squeezing hands of fate.
Yeah.
So it brings in mortality and how we should seize the day.
Yeah.
You know.
Moving
Good
on
song.
to track number 10, which is called... Yes. I'm going to butcher this. It's a Latin word. In flagrante delicto.
In flagrante delicto?
Yeah.
I guess is what it is.
But the very first line of the song is French.
Yep.
Oui. Oui. The song is about mortal pleasures and how they're fleeting.
Okay, yeah.
I believe it's pretty sexualized at the beginning in their references. The French thing talks about a little death, and it is what you think it is.
Mort.
Yeah, a little death, like dying a little death, like in the medieval sense.
Oh.
Yeah, and the very it touches upon it pretty on the nose if you actually read it.
Yeah.
But it talks about how at the end you're kind of left empty and not really caring, and they kind of compare that to animals. It's kind of a deep song about a simple subject.
Yeah,
it's like a deep song about like the throwing away of sex almost. I really don't know. It gets almost tough to interpret. I gotta sit with these lyrics more because I've read them a bunch of times and I always think something different every time I read them. But it's intense.
Yeah, I would have to look up what all these French phrases mean.
Yeah. Moving on to the penultimate track 11, which is called Tartuffe.
Love this song.
This Tartuffe is the name of a musical by the playwright Molière.
Yep.
And Tartuffe
Molière
translates roughly to hypocrite or something along those lines.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why they're talking here about like the men who go to concerts and mosh pits who are all like fans of Propagandhi and like pro-feminist and like all these things, but then shove all the girls to the back and the sides. That's what the first line is: single moms to the front, deadbeat dads to the rear.
Yep.
And I love how he says, he like laughs. He's like, "Ha! Male privilege is frantically checked? ? Okay, go sit through Less Talk."
Yeah.
And Less Talk is their second album where they're like really bashing masculinity and like toxic masculinity as some other people say. I've actually learned that phrase from the podcast My Favorite Murder.
Toxic masculinity?
Yeah, when there's like dudes who are like filled with rage and like hate women, they always call that toxic masculinity.
Okay.
It's a nice way to phrase it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't want toxicity.
No.
You don't want that in your life.
No. It's like it's a toxin. You gotta purge the toxins, bro.
Even
Go on a cleanse diet.
Even though
juice.
Even though we're drinking a toxin.
Yeah. Well, alcohol. Yeah, alcohol is a toxin. There are some benefits to alcohol.
True.
I don't know much of the way of benefits to beer, other than it tastes delicious. But there are benefits to wine.
Antioxidants.
Like a 4 to 6 glass of red wine a night is good for the heart.
4 to 6 ounces.
Yes, not.
You just said 4 to 6 glass of red wine.
Oh, I apologize. 4 to 6 ounces.
Yeah.
4 to 6 glasses is a bad idea. Do not do that. 4 to 6 ounces. A small serving of wine is good for the heart.
Yeah.
I don't really know about liquor. I'm sure that's not that great for you.
Probably not too much good for you about that, but
Maybe it'll kill some.
it also tastes good though.
It'll kill some viruses. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
Or maybe it'll kill your immune system and make you more susceptible to viruses.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good song. I like that song.
Yeah, it is really great.
Moving on to
We came here to rock.
the last track, which is called "Adventures in Zoochosis," and this is
This
my
would be,
honorable mention.
I would have recommended this one.
This
Or I am.
This song has a different feel also to
It
it,
does.
and it's got this really long, slow intro where he's playing some clips from Trump.
Yep.
Some very famous clips that I'm sure if you paid attention to the
The
campaign and the election, that they definitely came back
You've
up.
definitely heard these.
Very controversial stuff. But the rest of the song talks about how we're kind of slaves to society. We're willing slaves because that's just the way it is, and you subscribe to it. And so essentially he compares that to zoochosis, which, do you know what zoochosis is?
No, I was wondering about that.
It's a term for animals, like how animals act in captivity and how they repeat things. They act a little more downtrodden. They're submissive. So that's what zoochosis is. So he's comparing those, like zoo animals, like how we live, being submissive to the ways of how society is. Like just going along with it, going with the flow. We're trapped. We're in our cage.
So I like one of the lines, it's kind of the bridge, where he kind of talks about this idea of zoochosis and talks about comparing us to animals in terms of how we are in society. He says, "I'm excited to see what our keepers have planned." So I think keepers being like the government, pretty much. "Perhaps a bigger cage, longer chains, some compelling novel reasons to remain." So I really like that line because I feel like that's in reference to like materialism and
Novel reasons to stay
in the cage
in our chains or in society. Something new to distract us.
Something new, like the newest TV is out, or the newest iPhone is out. Everybody, look at that. Distract yourselves from what's really happening.
Yeah, but in the song he's talking to his kids, saying, "This is where I am, and I've resigned to it, and it's unfortunate." Because he says,
"Dad, are we gonna die? Yes, son, both you and I, but maybe not today."
But maybe not today. He says, "Boys, I've bowed to the keeper's whip for so damn long. I think the sad truth is this enclosure is where your old man belongs.
Yeah.
But your hearts are pure." And he talks about how they can get out and maybe have a different life, maybe break free from the constraints. But yeah, I think that's a great song and a great way to close the album.
Yeah.
And I do want them to keep making music. I think it would be great for them to do that. But on the chance that they didn't, this would be a great song to end their career on.
Yeah, I would think so too. There was an interview with Chris Hanna where he was talking about how he didn't really like touring anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was with it was some interview podcast up in
Was it the one I
Canada.
sent you?
Maybe.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, I agree with you though. I hope they keep touring because that show was really good.
Oh, they're
in
so
Nashville.
good live. Yeah.
It was really cool too because it was at that really small venue,
Mm-hmm.
so it just felt more personal. We were like right up against the stage. It was a dope show, yo.
Dope show. Yep.
Dope show, yo. But anyway, I would definitely recommend listening to this album. And if you don't like curses or political songs, try to listen with an open mind.
And if you can't listen with an open mind, just listen
Then
to something else. You'll be okay.
sing La-di-doo-da-day.
Yeah. You'll be okay if you
yourself.
don't listen to this. You don't have to, but
Yeah.
I think
We recommend it,
we
though.
recommend it. Yeah. You might like it.
Try it. You might
That's-
like it.
That's what this podcast is all about, is expanding your musical horizons. Maybe
Yes.
listening to something you would have never listened to before.
Speaking of that, what's in store for next week that will be expanding your musical horizons?
My horizons are being
Tested?
destroyed. I've been listening to this crazy album by Animal Collective, and a bunch of animals they are.
Yeah.
Collectively, they're all animals, and they're just destroying my will.
Line in a coma, line in a coma. What's the use of taking over? Line in a coma,
No.
line in a coma.
When I was looking up this album to listen to it,
Lion in a
I did
coma.
see some of their most popular songs, and I saw one that I knew from you, Floridata, Floridata. I was like, oh, I like that song. Why couldn't you have recommended that album?
Because I haven't listened to that one as much.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, so next week we'll be back to our regular format where we each have our own album to review and we each have our own beer to try. Like
Yep.
Jesse said, I'm listening to Merriweather Post Pavilion. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Merriweather Post Pavilion
By
by
Animal
Animal Collective, and you are listening to Shipwreck in the Sand by Silverstein.
Okay, yep. And so that's it for this week.
That's
if
it.
you guys enjoyed, share it with whoever you want to.
Yeah.
Your grandmother, your uncle, your brother, sister, nephew, niece,
Your elementary
your
school
dog.
teacher,
I guess your cat if you want to share it with your cat.
your goldfish,
Goldfish, good call.
gerbil.
Yep, your imaginary friend, Phil.
So, yeah. Your neighbors.
Neighbors, yep.
Reposted online for people you don't know.
Share it with all the trees in your yard.
Just to think about it.
Yeah.
Share it with yourself. All right, let's. Anything else to say about the beer? Has it warmed up?
As it's warmed up, it's just gotten better. The flavors are more pronounced now, and
I agree.
it kind of is. Their
I don't
flavors
think
are
the-
less separated than they were at the beginning.
Yeah,
too.
I don't think the roastiness kicks in nearly as hard because I'm used to it.
Yeah, that's a
still
good
good though.
point.
So let's finish our beers and sign off.
Sounds like a plan.
Shibbidi-beep-boop-dow! Once again, my name is Stephen Johnston,
And my name is Jesse Titus.
and this is American Brews and Tunes.
Cheers!
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes. Shibbity-beeby-dow!